The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Good evening, sim racing fans across the globe and right here at home, and welcome to another Monday night of full throttle competition here on iRacing Live and LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. For those of you who may be joining us for the first time, welcome. For those of you who are regular viewers, welcome as well. And we close in and start to close up the 2016 season and look ahead towards the winter and next year with the penultimate race of the penultimate round of the chase for the Full Throttle Cup. Tonight's RSR Full Throttle Cup Series broadcast comes to you live from the Lone Star State of Texas. It's the mile-and-a-half Texas Motor Speedway, and qualifying underway for tonight's edition. The Fall Texas race, chaos, calamity, those C words that no good broadcaster likes to hear because, well, cautions, and we expect some sort of chaos and calamity over the course of tonight's 300 kilometers. But before we get to that, we'll bring you topside to the LSRTV broadcast booth. Good evening to all of you out there. I'm Jacob Seelman alongside Chris Murdoch and James Pike tonight as we get set to go for 125 laps around the Lone Star Intermediate Oval. And Chris, I'll start with you. This track been known to wreak havoc on championship contenders, and tonight would seem to be no different. You've got a lot of contenders up at the front. You've got a few contenders buried in the field, at least so far. What do we see when we go green here this evening?
Well, as you mentioned, it can wreak havoc on you. As a driver myself, Texas is one of my worst tracks. It's just so easy to get away from you. You coming off of those corners, get a little loose, you'll find yourself in the outside wall on either end, especially watching out that tri-oval. I've watched a few NIS races this week, and the rubber buildup seems to be traveling down to the bottom of the tri-oval, so you got to manage your car space and make sure you stay out of the marbles down there, and just watch out for other drivers, because it's such an important race. This is the second race in the round of 8. Last week David Washington pulled out the win with his teammate finishing behind him. It's just such an important race for these guys like Dwayne Vincent and Austin Coop, one of our drivers, are back in the car, so hopefully we'll see a better outing from him and get him back up here in the booth and get to talk to him a little bit more.
We're looking forward to it. Austin going to be our in-race reporter here when we do go green this evening. You mentioned, Chris, that David Washington, the first driver to ink his place in the championship 4, with a win last week at Martinsville. He sweeps the season at Martinsville and leaves 7 drivers hunting 3 spots. His teammate Daniel Eberhardt, the best of the points guys right now, and we'll continue to update you on those chase points for the 8 contenders as we go throughout the night tonight. James, I'll turn to you. Your subject before we came on air was Calamity Corners, and turn 2, always a tricky spot on this sim, but turn 4 not exactly easy either. It narrows up quite nicely, and as we saw last night, certainly one of those places where you get into a skirmish and it'll bite you real quick.
I love that moment when you're the last person to talk in the booth and all the points that you were going to make already get stolen before you get the chance to talk. Because honestly, with the way the tire model here is and the way the track surface is kind of worn down over the years, it's modeled pretty well in this game. So especially if we get a good long green flag run, which you seem to think isn't necessarily going to happen.
Nope, it's not.
I think we're going to get something a little bit longer than you expect, Jacob, which means these guys are going to have to watch how they run, have to manage their tires over the course of a run, and make sure that you don't lose the rear end of the car coming out of 2 and coming out of 4, because it's so easy here at Texas And at all these quad ovals, really, to lose the car coming out of the corner and spin out and run into trouble really quick.
Before we roll with our starting grid tonight, we will take a look at those championship standings for our chasers. David Washington on top, but the only man guaranteed a spot in the championship four with his 6th win of the 2016 season 1 week ago at Martinsville. Daniel Eberhardt, the best of the points guys. He is, as of now, 5 points ahead of the cutoff. You've got Scott Eckridge, 3 points to the good. Nick Silver, the last man in right now, 2 points to the good. Mike Kelly, Kyle Taraska, Carl Shedd, and Dwayne Vincent, the biggest danger. He's 22 points out right now, the defending champ. He said to me before this race, I have to win tonight. He won this race in the spring, trying to do it again. We'll take a look at our LSRTV starting grid right now. This should be dangerous. On the pole for tonight's race, and he won last week at Martinsville. Going to try to do it again with his 4th pole of the season. David Washington in the 98 alongside championship rival Scott Eckridge in the 70, Chris.
Yeah, and then behind them in third, another one of those Aegis guys who finished 2nd last week, Daniel Eberhardt. He'll be starting 3rd, and the 45 of Carl Shedd will be 4th.
5th tonight on the inside of row number 3, Steve Gottschalk to his outside, the 1 of Sean Casto.
On the inside, you got the 13 of Dwayne Vincent. As you said, a must-win for him in his mind. He'll be starting 7th. Scott Simley will be 8th.
9th tonight, Nick Silver, the surprise of this chase, right now in position to advance, and Mike Waters rounding out the top 10.
Coming in 11th, Ben Burnett in that 37, and Scott Stenzel will be 12th.
Going 13th tonight, going to be Mike Kelly, A.J. Browning in the 20, 14th.
John Abbott 15th, and Bobby Wetzel will be starting in that 16th position.
The lucky 7, Nelson Rivera rolls 17th. Doug Roth, who picked up his first win earlier this season in a restrictor plate race, rolls from the outside of row 9.
Our very own Austin Coop in that 53 will be starting 19th, and to round out the last driver taking time, Ross Cato will be starting 20th.
You'll see the provisional drivers as well as the rest of the starting field roll on your screen right now from 21st to 30th. Let's talk with our in-race reporter tonight, see if we can't get a word with Austin Coop before we go green. We'll dial him up on the radio. Let's try this. Austin Coop, Jacob Seelman up in the broadcast booth where you're familiar. Got a copy, buddy?
I sure do.
All right. We know you're making your second start of the season tonight really quickly. What's it going to take to win here at Texas?
Well, win it would be a miracle. I'm not used to getting on these 1.5-mile tracks, Jacob, to be honest with you. You know that. Really, what my goal for the end of the day is just to keep the car clean and stay out of everyone's way. There's a chase to be made, and I'm not a part of it, so I'm going to try and stay out of the way, more or less. Winning would be a miracle. I think would be cool. A little premature for me, but I think mainly the big thing today is just to get the car out of here in one piece and just have some fun.
We'll let you get to it. Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
As we roll into turn number 3 tonight, as always, we want to thank all of you tuning in tonight here on iRacing Live and LSRTV, and fasten your seatbelts because you are going to see a tremendous race to the flag here tonight. 300 kilometers, 125 laps. The pace car going to ease its way onto pit road as we exit turn number 4. The field in the hands of David Washington and Scott Simley. The championship rivals lead the field to green. American Ethanol green flag flies. We're underway in the Lone Star State on the jump. Washington early, 4 car lengths out in front. The rest of the field, Chris, already to turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, coming out of 2, you see Eberhardt making that pass for second. It seems like Scott Eckridge didn't get the start he wanted to. He's falling back through. He's got that 90, the 45 of Carl Shedd looking to his outside.
Yeah, they're already... He's kind of stacked in the middle of an Aegis mess right now as we complete lap number 1. Washington getting the jump. Daniel Eberhardt going to second, and now Eckridge back looking to the inside of the 90. Those two going to go side by side off turn number 2. James, the point that you made, how narrow it is. Eckridge shot the gap, makes it work, takes the spot to turn 3.
Made it work. Nice run off the corner there to make it up another spot. Everything looking pretty clean and green so far at the front, Chris, although no surprise, David Washington's jumped out to an early lead.
Yeah, no surprise there, James, as you got that 13 of Dwayne Vincent. He started 7th. He's already up to 4th, not looking to stop there. He's gaining on that 90 of Eberhardt. Like we mentioned at the top of the hour, this is a must-win for him. He's not going to hold back at all during this one, Jacob.
No, the Parker Store number 13 is already on the move. Vincent flying the Kyle Larson colors on that Chevrolet SS tonight. And he's closing quickly on the back deck lid of Daniel Eberhardt, that Aegis number 90 machine in the battle for the podium. Vincent a little bit quicker last time by 4 car lengths in hand for the 98 of David Washington. A little further back in the field, an early battle for P10. Scott Simley and Ben Burnett a moment ago, the 37 and the 15. They were going at it, but settle it back single file, Chris, pretty quickly. And I don't know right now that anybody really wanting to push their luck too hard, trying to settle into a rhythm here early on.
Yeah, you can't really afford to push your luck. This track is so unforgiving. You use those tires up too much, and you know you're already out of it. You're falling back. You're getting loose, sliding up into the wall. You know this track isn't very forgiving. So you just gotta pick and choose your battles during the opening laps of this race.
Well, a couple of battles going on back in the pack, side by side. Just ahead of the Nelson Rivera machine, Mike Waters and Scott Stenzel going at it in the 42. Stenzel looks to the inside, and they're going to clothesline right now. That the 55 of Waters, as he's going to fall back very quickly. Now you got Chad Cole, the DeWalt machine, going to the inside, former champion. Not going to make it happen this year, but Cole always been very strong.
Around 42, 42,
this pack
42.
goes side by side.
They save it. They save it.
Waters almost lost it.
Oh, you got the. I saw the 7 of Riviera get into that 42 of Stenzel. He almost went around. He was able to get it woe down and save it. They seemed to get away.
I don't know how.
But you know, just crazy racing going on. We haven't even hit lap 10 yet.
No. This pack right now is the best battle on the racetrack. You got Cole now looking to the inside of Nelson Rivera. That's for the 18th position. They get tight off turn number 2 again. Calamity Corner, and James, we see it. They're trying to come off that safer barrier, and when the inside car is trying to push up, it's just that point where they come together, and that's where the chaos has been happening.
What I think is interesting is that the guys at the front of the field have kind of spread out a little bit, but back here, everybody's still kind of bunched up a little bit. So I think there's also a little bit more incentive to get on the inside, because it seems like guys who get trapped on the outside kind of get freight trained, like you'd see it like a Bristol or a Martinsville or somewhere really much more like that.
Stenzel into the wall off turn number 2. He goes all the way down to the apron of the racetrack and will lose 2, 3, 4 positions, if not a little bit more. He's going to go back side by side with A.J. Browning and John Abbott back there behind the Nelson Rivera machine. Chad Cole now to the inside of Mike Waters and going to pick up a position. He'll go to 16th. All this happening 7.5 seconds behind the race leader. Just changed hands last time by. New leader on lap number 8, Scott Eckridge, to the point.
Yeah, I was quietly watching that 70 of Eckridge. He wasn't wasting any time. He saw on that restart, he wanted vengeance. He wanted revenge for getting caught on that restart. He powered his way back. He's leading the race, and he seems to be even pulling away from that 98 of Washington.
I'm not surprised at that right now. When you look at Eckridge's stat sheet, the most top 10s, he's been the most consistent driver of this season. 17 top 5s, 23 top 10s in 29 races, and 6 wins. He'd like to add number 7 to it tonight, James, because as we've talked about a couple of times, you win tonight, you're going to Homestead with a shot to win this Full Throttle Cup.
And it takes so much pressure off of you when you go to Phoenix, especially at a track like Phoenix where it tends to tighten up at times and you lose a little bit of room. It's so easy to get caught up.
Caution.
The
Working lap number 11. Oh. Wetzel's had a couple of problems the last few weeks, and that's a tough break too, Chris, because Wetzel was running 11th on the racetrack. He was 6 seconds behind. He was kind of leading that second pack from 11th through about 18th, but that's a tough break for Bobby, who was having he had moved his way forward. He was running 11th after starting 16th, and that's going to kill all his momentum here early on.
And he had some help there, Jacob. He got ran into the back of by that 37 of the 37.
Ben Burnett, yeah.
Ben Burnett. He got slammed going into one, went around. He seems to be going heavy rear end damage, but tough break for that 19.
Yeah, it really is, and that's unfortunately what we talked about, James. The early caution breaks up the green flag run and sets up these restarts, which are so tough right now on these drivers because everybody's going to be restarts, at least at this racetrack, until you get 20, 25, 30 laps into a run where the tire wear really comes into play. It's hard to pass at Texas.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky, especially at the start of new runs. I think the big question is whether or not people are really going to push, because I think if you get guys that go really aggressive trying to get spots early, might be an issue. But if they all kind of settle out and try and ride around until we get to a point where you have to go, might make it interesting.
Leaders are on pit road, Chris, and the guy we're all watching right now, or at least the two guys we're watching, come into positions and pit stalls 1 and 2. Scott Eckridge and David Washington hitting for their stops right now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. You see the 98 overshoot his pit box a little bit. He had to reverse. That's not going to be a good time for him. Doesn't seem like he got his stop the way he wanted to. As you see the 90 pull off, the 70 pulls off as the 98 still getting tires changed. The 90's going to win it off pit road.
Wow, how about the pit work for the 90 of Daniel Eberhardt? He'll win the race off pit road ahead of Eckridge, Vincent, and I want to say maybe 13.9 second stop for the 90 of Eberhardt. Really good pit work. And the one of Sean Casto, I think, coming off in the top 5 as well. So once we cycle it back around, we'll reset the running order for you. But the big loser, James, on that stop, he overshot the box. Those are mistakes you can't make. And David Washington, it's a good thing he won last week at Martinsville, because if he hadn't, I'd be saying this is a mistake that could kill your championship. He's already assured, so he can relax a little.
And he's got time to make it up. I think that's the big thing here. We still have plenty of laps left in this race. Only 13 laps in. You got over 100 to go. So he's got time, and I'd like to think that if you sit on pole and you're David Washington, you can make it up because your car's fast enough.
Yeah, right. And Dave Washington, who came in the leader, came in second, comes out 7th on that exchange of pit stops. Daniel Eberhardt's your new leader here, working lap number 14 with Scott Eckridge in second. Dwayne Vincent going to have that preferred inside lane for the restart in third. Sean Casto, great run for him. His teammate Nick Silver, still in the thick of this championship fight, is fourth. Carl Shedd completes the top 5, followed by Mike Kelly. We mentioned David Washington, Nick Silver in 8th, Steve Gottschalk, and Scott Simley, the rest of your top 10. But the guy I like started on a provisional right now, Chris, and Christopher Hurlow in the 87 has moved from 24th all the way to 14th right now on some great pit service in his own right, coming forward here in this first run.
Yeah, he's been doing a great job, and we cannot forget about that 8 car behind him, Chad Cole. They were in that intense battle we saw early on around lap 6. They were both in the middle of that. They managed to get away from all that, and they're moving up. Obviously, neither one of them is going to hold back here. They each want to win just to have a little fun, say that they can get up. So we'll see what they can do for the rest of the race. But Dwayne Vincent sitting up there in third, great pit stop for him. He's sitting right there where he needs to be coming on this restart.
Right now, he's in contention, and that's all you can ask. I've compared many times in this league and on these broadcasts Dwayne Vincent to a guy like a David Pearson or a Matt Kenseth, who's always going to be there, but he's never going to show all his cards until it matters. Expect that 13 to stay up front and in contention all race long, but James, he knows it's not about leading laps at lap 13 or 15. It's about leading lap 125 and making sure you punch your ticket to Miami.
The win's the only thing that really matters.
That's
at
right.
The end of this. I like that. Yeah, Pearson plus Kenseth plus a little bit of Harvick's ability to close mixed in. I don't know if you can make up a Dwayne Vincent math equations, but to me that sounds like something that would work pretty well.
It worked pretty well because he won the spring race here at Texas, and he has had very good luck at this racetrack over the years. Ready to go back green with 15 of 125 laps complete, so still a very long way to go in this one as the American Childhood Cancer Organization pace car heads back to pit road, field in the hands of Daniel Eberhardt, and we go back under the American Ethanol green flag, top 4. Quickly cycle out single file all the way back to Mike Kelly. A challenge back there for 4th. Contacted Carl Shedd. That was where all that started. I really Chris, I don't know how they managed to make it through turn 1 unscathed. That was right there. Carl Shed, Sean Casto, and they somehow all kept it straight.
All these drivers are spectacular in saving these cars. Most of these cars you would see wrecking on most races, but they're doing a good job of keeping it safe, keeping their cars clean for the most part. But 45 up there on the back bumper of the one again who chopped him off, maybe looking to say, hey, I didn't appreciate that. We're really early here on lap 17. Maybe cut it back a little bit.
Well, there's a few guys who are wrapping bumpers right now. How about the look to the outside in turn number 3? Scott Eckridge trying to make the move. Daniel Eberhardt throws the block. They'll race wheel to wheel through the quad oval. Eberhardt leads the lap by inches. Back to turn 1. James and Eckridge holding that line on the outside.
Did anybody tell Scott Eckridge that it's only lap 18? Impressive that he had the muscle to go on the outside in the corner to try and make a run there. He'll settle back behind Eberhardt, but who knows? I have a feeling he's got a few more cards that he's going to show before we wrap this race up.
How about the look for Sean Casto now? They're side by side for the 3rd position. Dwayne Vincent to the high lane. Casto down low. They'll race wheel to wheel this time by as we complete 18 laps in the record books. And Vincent maybe not going to press the issue so much. He will drive it deep into turns 1 and 2, but washes up the racetrack. Back bumper for the race lead now. Eckridge back on the charge. Eberhardt trying to take it to turn number 3, and Vincent behind him gonna lose a couple of spots as he's falling back now into a battle with David Washington for 4th.
Yeah, let's not all forget, all of our chasers are up here with inside the top 10, except for that one Sean Casto and maybe Steve Gottschalk. They're all up here. That's something we didn't see last week. All of our chasers were spread out through the field. They're all up here. They're hungry for a win. As you see the 98 so close, and the one gets loose. So close. As you see the 13 of Dwayne Vincent going to capitalize on that, and maybe the 80. Nope, 80 thought better of it. Mike Kelly thought better of pushing it 3 wide, but these drivers are not holding back. Lead change. The 70 of Scott Eckridge is going to take it from over.
Yeah, he is. Lap number 20. That was as textbook an inside pass as I've seen at Texas, James. Scott Eckridge taking that Toyota back to the front. Passes Eberhardt, who's not giving up the fight just yet, but that 70 really good on the 3 and 4 end of the racetrack right now.
He pushed it hard, and I think there was a point in Eberhardt's mind where he just said, look, if you want the lead bad enough this early in the race, go take it, and I'll come see you when we get down to 20 to go and we need to really race again.
Not done yet. Eberhardt pushing the limit again. They're back within less than a car length now. Eberhardt going to try that outside look at the 70, but he doesn't have the steam to stay with them. Behind them, Dwayne Vincent back around David Washington for the 3rd position. We talked about it before the start of this, James, how motivated that 13 had to be. He's got the car. I feel like he's maybe pacing himself a little bit here in the early going, just really feeling out what he's got.
Yeah, just trying to get settled into a rhythm. You figure this is about the point in the main game races where you start seeing these long green flag runs. So you wonder if we're going to get one of these here and if Dwayne's just trying to get into a rhythm and just start clicking off laps with a really nice lap time or 2.
Working number 23 right now, so 102 laps to go when they come back to the line. Eberhardt tried to take a peek to the inside of Scott Eckridge there, down into turns 3 and 4, but he'll fall back into line in the 90, and that's going to bring the 13 and the 98 back up to them. Top 4 about underneath a blanket right now, Chris. It's 5/10 from 1st back to 4th, and Dwayne closing on that back deck lid of the 90 of Eberhardt for 2nd.
Yeah, but we can't forget that 98 of Washington. He had a bad pit stop. He restarted all the way back in the 7th position. He's up to 4th, I should say, making a move for 3rd. He's getting up to the back bumper of that 13 car of Dwayne Vincent. And then we go back here to Sean Casto. He's running in the 5th position. He's the one that's really splitting our chasers up. You see we got Mike Kelly, Carl Shed, Nick Silver, all chasers trying to get around this one of Sean Casto. So he's pretty much being the thorn in the side as he gets in the wall. He's going to get in the wall. As we just mentioned him, all these chasers are going to look to get by him and maybe get up there for the lead as well.
Yeah, I mean, it has been intense right now. Up there among the top 7 or 8, and 7 of your 8 chase contenders as we sit inside the top 10. The only chaser actually not among the top 10 as they run, and actually as I I look down
Not
the
even
list,
in the
I don't
field.
even think he didn't even enter this race tonight. So Kyle Taraska's championship has likely ended unless he can come back and win at Phoenix. And that, honestly, is a heartbreaker, Chris, after that stunning win at Talladega that really uplifted everybody's heart to see, to get him to the round of 8. That just really hurts to not see that 88.
Yeah, you can't really have the people missing these races. You know, Kyle Taraska, like you said, winning Talladega to push him over into the round of 8. He was on the outside looking in before that race. You know, hopefully we see him back next week at Phoenix, but you definitely don't want to miss any of these races going into the chase.
Oh, here we go. Side by side, and how about Daniel Eberhardt all the way up into the marbles, James, in turns 1 and 2. He'll drop 2 spots, and actually on the radio just said, I'm letting them go. They're quicker right now. So Dwayne Vincent to 2nd, Dave Washington to 3rd, Eberhardt falling back in line in 4th. He went a little bit high maybe to let him go, but a solid strategy early. It is only lap 28 after all.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. He went off in the corner and almost looked like he overdrove it and just missed his racing line. But, I mean, hey, if that's what you're going to do to get yourself a little bit of clean air and it still works and you don't have any damage, no harm, no foul, right?
Exactly. Now, what this does, though, is it puts the 13 of Dwayne Vincent to the 2nd position. It's the first time all night we've seen Dwayne be able to play the chaser, James, and no pun intended, of course, but now we see what he does in comparison to Scott Eckridge. And right now, Eckridge in that true clean air, about a 10th a lap quicker. At least he was that last time by. But Dwayne's been able to pull from both of these Aegis Motorsports teammates in Washington and Eberhardt just a little bit, open up just enough breathing room to be comfortable for now as we work lap number 30. So I'll be interested to see these next 15 or 20 laps, how Eckridge and especially Vincent manage their tires, see what we shake out of the tree, and see which of those two becomes quicker over the long haul.
How do you handle your equipment over a long green flag run? And especially now that we've got a little bit of space between Eckridge and Vincent and then Washington and Eberhardt, who I would hope not take each other out as teammates. But, yeah, well, we'll see what people do here, and I think we're really going to get a good chance to see who's got a really, really strong setup and a good car, see who's got something maybe to win this as we get down towards the end.
Right now, lap 31 going up on the board, so right at the 1/4 mark of tonight's Lone Star 300 from the Texas Motor Speedway, 300 kilometers the distance. We still got a long way to go, but we are going to step away for the first time here tonight, do some business to keep our partners happy, but we continue from the Texas Motor Speedway right after this. Scott Eckridge, your leader, ahead of Dwayne Vincent, David Washington, Daniel Eberhardt, and Mike Kelly from the Great American Speedway. This is iRacing Live and LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Once its sights are set, nothing can stop the ferocious lion from capturing its prey. Relying on keen senses, lions search patiently before striking with alarming speed. Wait for it. Gotcha, Mr. Piece of Rubbish. He is truly the master of his environment. Do good, be a lion.
So cool, yeah. Nate, what are you working on at the moment?
So I'm working on the animation for the game. We're working on getting pit crews fully developed, and that involves a lot of moving parts. So I'm going in and making sure that each moving part can dovetail smoothly into the next one, so that when you pull in for a pit stop, it looks like the real thing, as opposed to a bunch of jumbled pieces that suddenly stop and then go and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so cool, but why aren't you working on the tire model? Nothing?
Welcome back to coverage of the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series presented by presented on iRacing Live and LSRTV, and this broadcast presented to you by Gary Mercer Trucking. Established in 1982, Gary Mercer Trucking has the experience and expertise that your freight deserves, providing reliable logistical services for over 30 years. Their specialties include over-the-road, less-than-load, and full truckload freight services between Ontario, Canada, and all points in the United States. For more information, visit them on the web at www.gmercer.com. Gary Mercer Trucking, the experience and expertise that your freight deserves. We bring you back to the Texas Motor Speedway, and here in the LSRTV broadcast booth, I'm Jacob Seelman alongside James Pike and Chris Murdoch as we roll through the Lone Star 300, the third to last race of the season here for the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Gary Mercer Trucking and SimVibe by Sim Experience. Right now, Scott Eckridge for the Steel Horse Racing Toyota team leads by 1.3 seconds over defending series champion Dwayne Vincent in a near must-win situation tonight if he wants to advance to the championship 4 and have a shot to defend his series crown. But last time by, James, a tenth and a half quicker was the Parker Store Chevrolet. Dwayne Vincent making the move, and how about the battle between teammates for third? Daniel Eberhardt to the inside of David Washington, and a short-lived battle at that in turn 3.
Well, geez, we come back from commercial, and all of a sudden, everybody's decided to get all antsy up at the front of the field again. But yeah, Eberhardt up to third now, and the guy really on the move. Chad Cole in that 8
How
machine.
about the DeWalt Chevy? Cole from 21st, and he was 16th. He was 16th when he came in for the pit stops here under our first caution. He rides 5th now, just got around Mike Kelly. He's got about 1.8 seconds, Chris, between he and 4th place David Washington, but a man on a mission indeed. Chad Cole cracks the top 5 at lap 41.
Yeah, he seems to be on a mission. He made both of those passes on Silver and Kelly during our commercial break, which wasn't really that long. And you mentioned over the break that you talked to him, and he said that he was motivated, and he's really shown at this race here, Jacob. He's not giving up, and he's not stopping yet.
No, he's not. That DeWalt machine, it's been almost 2 years as the caution flag flies since Chad Cole has won, almost a 2-year drought. But yellow flag number 2 comes out here working lap number 43. Yeah, Scott Stenzel in the 42, who was entertaining us during the first stint, James. 2 and 3 wide, back in the middle of the packs. But Stenzel going to drop, and it looks like maybe just lost it. And around he goes, and I think the luck factor is that he was racing around some guys and didn't collect anybody else. But tough break for that 42, knowing that he was having a really good showing there mid-pack, dicing it up with a few guys during that first green flag run.
Just to show how crucial it is to make sure that you don't lose the rear end of the car and that you don't get air loose either, as everybody comes down to pit road for tires and fuel and service and all that good stuff, Jacob.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see any 2-tire stops. We went almost 30 laps on this stint, and there's at this point no reason why your front runners at least don't take 4 tires. If you really go back in the pack, maybe.
He did it again.
But,
Washington overshot his box. Washington overshot his box again. He just can't seem to get it under control.
It's a good thing he won at Martinsville, because you can't. And how about the race off pit road? Eckridge leads it, Vincent second, but how about a big drive by Mike Kelly? Picks up a couple on pit road, goes from I think 6th or 7th coming in to 4th on pit out, and Nick Silver picking up a few spots as well. into the top 5, but the top 3, Eckridge, Vincent, Eberhardt, remain unchanged as we work here. Now lap number 44 under the yellow. James, we're a third of the way through this 125 lapper. So what stuck out to you through the first third of this race while we've got some time to kind of recompose ourselves and analyze a little bit some of what we've seen from these front runners tonight?
You know, we haven't really seen all that much of him at the front of the field, but the fact that Chad Cole started in the 21st position and has driven up to the 5th spot in just 44 laps, if I'm anybody in that front 4, I'm
nervous.
Yeah, a little bit, especially if that car is as strong on the long run as it's been on some of the shorter ones.
Yeah, I think what it shows is he picked up 6 or 7 spots on that first short run before the caution, that first 10-lap run, and now he's picked up a good handful more. Loses 2 on that round of pit service, so struggled just a bit as a couple guys get around him there from the top 5. But again, starting 7th, you're on the preferred inside lane. Not a bad position to be. Chris, what's got your eye here with 45 complete?
Well, the caution really coming out this point in time. I was really hoping that it would stay green. We were coming up on green flag pit stops. So I wanted to see the strategy come into play. There's a lot of racing left to go, so I'm not going to count the strategy call and the green flag pit stops out of the way yet. But just really tough to see that caution come out so close to the pit stops.
Yeah, I mean a green flag pit cycle at Texas, James, it can either be a really good thing or a really bad thing, because as much as people may not always talk about it, this is not an easy pit road to get on because you carry so much speed through the center of the corner in 3 and 4. It's tough to get it woed up on the banking.
Yeah, and it's one of those pit road entries that kind of sneaks up on you a little bit. I like to think of Las Vegas as something that's kind of comparable. We know about all the troubles that guys have getting on an off turn 4 and down on the pit road over in Sin City, but this isn't necessarily that much different. So got to make sure you watch and you get it woed down enough to make sure you don't get a pit road penalty, because especially this late in the race, we're not necessarily all that deep into it, but we're deep into the race enough to where if you get a speeding penalty under green, your chances of winning this race are shot.
Yeah, they really are. So the caution allows everybody to reset, and it's interesting to note here tonight that especially when you look at the 70 of Scott Eckridge and the 98 of David Washington, and this allows us to kind of preview what we've got going tomorrow night on LSRTV as well. Not only do those guys want to win, and in Dave Washington's case, take a win away from the rest of the chasers, they're also practicing for the opening round of the NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series, which kicks off right here on LSRTV tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time with live broadcast coverage. So, a lot of good testing opportunities and track time opportunities, especially for those two, as the pace car eases back to pit road. American Ethanol green flag waves once again, and the jump by Scott Eckridge. Good, maybe not as good as it was on the restart before, but he gets away from Dwayne Vincent. Side-by-side action for third between Daniel Eberhardt, Mike Kelly, and now Nick Silver sticking the nose in off turn 2.
Yeah, Eckridge sure wasn't wasting any time on there. He saw that pace car go, and he was hot on the gas. He got that jump. Not going to really work out well for him as you got that 13. It worked out pretty well for him, I should say. But that 13 is closing back in, hopefully to make a pass and lead his first laps of this race on that, coming to lap 49.
He's closing in, but again, he doesn't have to lead the most laps, just the last one as we watch this battle from third. Oh, Eberhardt may have kissed the wall off turn number 2. If he didn't, he got awful close to it, James. That 90 loses some momentum, and he's got a 5-car freight train backed up behind him now. Mike Kelly's there, Dave Washington's there, Chad Cole behind him, and even Christopher Hurlow and Nick Silver. Silver actually getting by Hurlow the last time by. That 24's on the move now.
Yeah, all sorts of people. We got chasers, we got non-chasers, all sitting there in that little pack. I don't know if something's off with that 24 Nick Silver, but he had a good pit stop, and that car's fallen off a little bit in the first few laps since the restart. So maybe they missed the setup on that run for this 24. Something up, but doesn't look like he's as quick as some of the other cars around him right now.
The handling maybe not cooperating comparative to Nick Silver's driving style as he falls about 3 car lengths off of Chad Cole, as now David Washington takes the peak. Mike Kelly slams the door in turn number 2 as they race almost wheel to wheel for the 4th position. Washington trying to get away up front. It's 3 car lengths between the 70 of Eckridge and the 13 of Vincent, and this is about the closest that 13, Chris, has been to the lead all night.
Yeah, he started in that 7th position, worked his way back up. He seems to be moving up on each restart we had. He started 3rd the restart before last and 2nd in this one. Now he's finally going to try, I should say, get up there to that 70 of Eckridge. He's about 2 tenths behind him, but there's another, 4 or 5 tenths to Eberhardt, who's also being chased down by the 80, the 98, and the 8. Chad Cole, as we mentioned under the broadcast, he's kind of just biding his time. He's letting these two do their thing. He's not really pushing the issue right now. As you see the 98 dive to the inside on the 80, looks like the 8's going to follow through, and that's tough to get caught on the outside here.
Oh, hold tight. There's a good battle going behind them. The 1 of Sean Casto, the 45 of Carl Shed, had a look-see and now falls way back as just ahead of him. The battle is on for the 8th position. Casto trying to go to work on the 87 of Christopher Hurlow. Shed trying to regroup and come back after them, and behind them, Ross Cato, John Abbott, and now Doug Roth side by side for the 12th position in turn 1.
Yeah, the 20, I should say, is falling back. He's got that 91 of Gottschalk on his inside, but he closes the door. This battle in the mid-pack is, sized enough to be great racing, as we got people just settling out. I mean, they are our chasers up front. They're not looking to push anything too hard. These people in the back, they got nothing to lose. They're just out here having fun, racing hard and trying to move up through the field.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch, especially this battle as we see the 45, James. He had to regroup a couple laps. He got a little high off turn number 2, and I think really just had to sit back and gather that car up again. He's going back to work on Sean Casto in the Bojangles entry. Not done on Christopher Hurlow either. These three, they've been peeking and trying, and nobody can quite get the window to move to the inside.
Yeah, Castro's in a little bit of a sandwich because the idea, obviously, is to try and get underneath Hurlow, but you have to also make sure that you don't open up the door to let Carl Shed in underneath you, so you got to kind of watch yourself if you're in that Bojangles 1 machine, because things can get tricky if you mess it up.
Yeah, up front, the gap's still stable, about 2 car lengths between Eckridge and Vincent, as again Casto looks to the inside. This time Hurlow leaves the bottom open, but Casto can't charge the corner enough. You've got Carl Shed looking, and how about John Abbott in the 10, trying to go for a spot in the top 10. That's a feel-good story right now, as Carl Shed finally gets the look underneath Casto in the battle for the 8th position, and he's going to get it. Casto slams the door on Abbott. The crossover, James, in turn 3.
Well, Casto opened up the door trying to get underneath Hurlow, and Shed got around him, and then he got a really good drive into 3. So all topsy-turvy in the middle of the field on lap 56. Don't think it's going to end anytime soon the way these guys are racing, Jacob.
No, this has been as entertaining a racing as we've had in this field so far tonight as they work the lap car of Sean Bounty, the Sprite machine, way up to the outside of the racetrack. Behind them, Ross Cato, Doug Roth, locked in a battle as we go 3-4 wide, almost into turn number 3. Steve Gottschalk took a look all the way down to the apron, trying to work over A.J. Browning for 14th, and for a minute, that was going to be dicey, and as we say in the Lone Star State, everything's bigger in Texas, but that was a little too big right there, Chris. That wasn't going to work.
Yeah, it seems as one battle finishes, another one starts, as you see the 91 of Gottschalk dive back in on the 20 of A.J. Browning. He's trying to get around him. That's for the 14th position. Then we come up here to the 80s and the 45 of Shed. They've been battling for the past few laps, and then we jump up here to the 98, 8, and 80. They're in a 3-car battle, so battles all over the track, and nobody's wanting to give up yet.
No, and Chad Cole now back inside the top 5. He's running right where he was before pit stops, and I think that says something, at least right now. The fact that he's able to pace himself, I think, honestly, sitting behind the 98 of Washington a few laps may have taught, we talk about Chad Cole being the second best winner in this series, former champion, James. He's done just about everything there is to do in real sim racing competition. but I can't help but think that maybe sitting behind that 98, he's not learned a thing or two here through this stint.
Or at least tried to learn something, because we've still got a ton of time to go, so it wouldn't surprise me if you're right and he just said, hey, look, I've made it up to a point where I know I'm in a good position. We're probably going to get another caution before this race comes to a close. So let me just sit back and see if I can learn something while we're running under green. So maybe I can figure out a thing or two, and if I need to use it with 4 or 5 laps to go, I can't.
We're coming up on the halfway point. We're about 2 laps away from halfway, so we'll take a look at our full field rundown here for just a moment before we get to our midway race break. Scott Eckridge is your race leader. Dwayne Vincent rides second. Daniel Eberhardt is third. David Washington is fourth. Chad Cole rides fifth. Mike Kelly is sixth. Nick Silver seventh. Christopher Hurlow rides in the 8th position. Carl Shedd 9th. And James Sean Casto right there rounding out the top 10 as he and Hurlow continue to go at it with a whole host behind him.
That whole battle never stops. But in 10th, you got 11th for John Abbott, Ross Cato in 12th, Doug Roth currently running in 13th. 14th will be that Steve Gott's chalk machine, that 91. The 20 of A.J. Browning is 15th. Scott Simley runs 16th at the moment. Nelson Rivera can be found in the 17th position. Bobby Wetzel is in 18th at the moment. Jimmy North 19th. And Michael Waters in that 55 rounds out the top 20.
Yeah, 21st, our own Austin Coop, the last car on the lead lap right now. Sean Boundy 2 laps down in 22nd. Scott Stenzel 23rd, and Joey Jattina rides 24th. Ben Burnett 25th, and has pretty much parked that 37 machine tonight behind the wall. Douglas Wyatt out of this race after the blown motor about 27 laps ago, and Joseph Tice out of this race in the 27th position, the last car that took the green flag here this evening. And as we pass halfway, it's time to take a look at our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, the IMSA Sports Car Ranks, and much more. And, you just heard the full field rundown, guys, so let's take a look at our notes, our notebook from the first half of this race during this race break, because what we've seen is a very dominant Scott Eckridge, James, but a very motivated number 13 of Dwayne Vincent tonight.
Motivation versus car speed versus how hard you push. Just all sorts of variables I think up at the front of the field. But it looks like we've kind of all settled into a groove in the top 5. Eckridge, and Vincent, and Everhart, and Washington, and now that Chad Cole's gotten his way up there. I think they're all kind of content to just ride around and make sure they click off laps so that they're there in the end when it really matters. You can go get that checkered flag.
Chris, we're right at the halfway point of this race, so as we say up here in the broadcast booth, it's getting close to go time. What are you looking at, and who needs to step it up in the second half of this race tonight?
For me, I would say it would be, Mike Kelly. He's had a good run up. He's been from 3rd to not even falling out of the top 10 this whole race. But, Chad Cole, as we mentioned, he started 21st. He's up to that 5th position. He's been the mover. I'd say he's my sleeper pick. You got Eckridge, pulling away almost about 9/10 in front of that 13 of Dwayne Vincent. But who's coming under finder of Eberhardt right now. But, Chad Cole, definitely my sleeper pick for this race. If a caution comes out, maybe green flag pit stops happen, I say he does really well.
My note here as we cross the halfway point is pretty simple. It's about chasers and it's about winning. And right now, Dwayne Vincent has shown the pace. He's got to step it up a little bit more, get around that 70. My one to watch here as we go into the final stages is not a driver, it's pit strategy. If this run stays green, it's very likely about 30 laps to go or so, maybe a little less than that. We'll see a final round of pit stops. Who takes 2 tires? Who takes 4? Who takes none, if that's an option, to try and make up time on the racetrack and have a shot to win your way to Homestead, Miami. With 68 laps complete, we're going to step aside and go LSRTV nonstop now as we're past the halfway point of this race. Scott Eckridge leads Dwayne Vincent, Daniel Eberhardt, David Washington, and Chad Cole from the Great American Speedway. In Texas, you're watching iRacing Live and LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks and terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
So cool, yeah. Nate, what are you working on at the moment?
So I'm working on the animation for the game. We're working on getting pit crews fully developed, and that involves a lot of moving parts. So I'm going in and making sure that each moving part can dovetail smoothly into the next one, so that when you pull in for a pit stop, it looks like the real thing, as opposed to a bunch of jumbled pieces that suddenly stop and then go and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so cool, but why aren't you working on the tire model? Nothing?
Welcome back to iRacing Live and LSRTV, closing in on 50 laps to go in the Lone Star 300, race 31 of 33 for the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series, presented by Gary Mercer Trucking and SimVibe by Sim Experience. This broadcast brought to you by SimVibe and Sim Experience, a premier motion simulator manufacturer with expertise in electronics, engineering, manufacturing, and software development, whose products are utilized worldwide in driver training facilities, homes, simulation centers, and
Yeah, and you know, we're back here at the lead of the pack. You know, Scott Eckridge falling off a little bit to that 13 of Dwayne Vincent, as we have some little technical difficulties on the booth with Jacob. He'll be rejoining us here, as well as James. But you know, green flag pit stops are underway. You know, Chad Cole was the first one to bring it down here. He's the first car one lap down, sitting back in that 16th position. Dwayne Vincent about 6 tenths back from that 70 of Scott Eckridge. Eberhardt closely behind him in third. You got Washington, his teammate, in fourth. Mike Kelly in fifth. So it's kind of interesting when, you know, all these drivers will come down pit road, but definitely one person to watch is that 70 of Scott Eckridge. He's been commanding the field on these last two restarts. You know, Eberhardt finally up there again on the 13 of Dwayne Vincent. It's been a close battle. Everybody's kind of settled out. You got Chad Cole, who's moved up to 15th. He's the first car lap down. He's the first one to move it down. You got Nick Silver. You know, Chad Cole's moving through the field. He's caught Mike Kelly, who's sitting in that 5th position. He's looking to unlap himself here. So these drivers are going to have to choose when they want to come back down and, you know, come down pit road, because they're losing time to Chad Cole 15th. He's about to catch the 90 of Eberhardt, and I think we've got Jacob back here, so I'm going to toss it to him.
working now. What's it going to be? 46 laps to go when we come back to the line. And the strategy that everybody's been watching right now, James, and well, we were talking about it under the break here a few minutes ago, was Chad Cole and how early he pitted. 53 laps, somewhere in there, going to be the realm that he would have to go to make it all the way to the end. My calculator is smoking, thinking, I just don't think you can go 53 laps on a tank. Maybe Chad knows something we don't. Maybe it's a plan to just have to short pit for a splash before the end of this race.
Either short pits for a splash or hope we get a caution somewhere, probably late, so that he can make it all the way to the end. But yeah, you're right, Jacob. I think 52 laps under full green flag conditions to go all the way to the end of this seems a little bit crazy. But then again, we've seen Chad do some crazy things before, and it's come out well for him. So.
Well, yeah, that we have. It's come out with 17 career victories, second all-time for the driver of that number 8 DeWalt machine. Cole right now has just unlapped himself by passing Scott Eckridge a moment ago and putting himself back on pace with the rest of the leaders. We're actually going to see if we can't pick up where the race leader is on track as he heads back towards turn 1 right now. A 9/10 of a second advantage over Daniel Eberhardt, who a lap ago, Chris, took over second from Dwayne Vincent. That could be big in the long run of this race.
Yeah, track positions always matter, and you know, getting that track position is always key here at Texas, especially late race with green flag pit stops happening. Getting on first and getting off first in pit road's always a crazy thing. As I think we got the 98 of David Washington. He's fourth, but he's finally ducking under that white line to make his pit stop, his maybe final pit stop of the day.
I would say at this stage, with 41 laps to go next time by, at this point, definitely you can make it to the end. So this will be a final pit stop for the 98 of Washington. Cole is the question mark here, James.
Yeah, Cole's the one that's got to stretch it. I also think, I don't expect it to happen, but if we get a yellow at any point during this window, do you even want to think about how many things that's going to do to the running order?
If this goes yellow before we cycle it all the way through, it is a mess right now, and Chad Cole is sitting here going, I'm either a lucky son of a gun or I just really screwed up. And I'm not sure which would be the right answer because I really don't know what he might do. You had Mike Kelly, who just came down to pit road a moment ago in the 80. We're waiting on the leaders, Eckridge, Eberhardt, and Vincent. And the question's going to become, what do you do and what strategy do you take? As I think Dwayne Vincent hitting the lane right now.
That he is. He'll be making his final stop. That leads Eberhardt and Eckridge up there, but Eberhardt's now getting passed by the 87 of Christopher Hurlow, who has already made his final pit stop. So you got to be wondering when these drivers are going to come in. They're basically going to be losing time to all these other drivers, you know, who have already pit, you know, like you mentioned, cautions. Jacob, we anticipated a lot of cautions, but, you know, James called it. This has been a pretty lengthy green flag run we've had here.
Dwayne Vincent's already going to make one lap right here. If I'm Scott Eckridge, I would have hit pit road the next lap. As soon as Dwayne Vincent made the call to pit road, if I'm Eckridge and Eberhardt, James, I'm pitting the next lap so I don't give up any time. Staying out this long, the only way it works is if it goes green the rest of the way and gives Eckridge a little bit fresher tires on that last run. If we get a yellow, Scott Eckridge is going to be a sitting duck.
Yeah, I think now, especially since he stayed out again, so that'll be 2 more laps that he's run on this set of tires than Dwayne Vincent. I almost think if you keep on running, you're thinking you're getting a caution at some point here, or you're hoping for something that we don't know about, because that's going to be
a miracle.
Ton of time that you lose to Dwayne Vincent with each passing lap that you stay out on this set of tires.
Yeah, I'm really a little puzzled by this right now. It has to go green the rest of the way. That's the only way Scott's going to have a prayer at this right now, the way it's running. And Eberhardt's latched on to the same strategy that the 70's been running right now. No, Eberhardt on pit road right now, Chris, the 90, giving up the ghost.
Yeah, that means Eckridge has to be making his pit stop soon, or he'll just be a sitting duck. I'm not throwing out the caution yet. You know, we've seen some crazy things here at Texas in the past. Eckridge, I don't understand what he's doing. You know, we've seen crazy strategy calls that have worked out for him before.
Two tires on Eberhard.
You know what he's doing, and yeah, Eberhard did take 2 tires.
See, there's a big strategy call, James, and 2 versus 4 at Texas is huge, but if it stays green, Eberhard, that's going to be about 5 or 6 seconds of track time that Eberhard's going to make up right here. That could be the difference, but I just don't know.
This is fun now because we finally have a little bit of strategy that comes into play here. You got Eckrich and you got Eberhard that are thinking it's going to go green. You have Dwayne Vincent on a regular strategy, and you have Chad Cole that's either looking for a yellow or trying to play a massive fuel save game. So lots of strategies up here in this top 5, and it's just going to come down to which strategy ends up working best and how this race plays out as we get down to the end, Jacob.
If Chad Cole wins this race on 53 laps of fuel, and I'll let him reference it, if he does win this race, I'll pay up the
Eckrich
bet
is
that I lost to him last year at Phoenix, and it's going to be fun to watch as we go 35, and Scott Eckrich hits the cone on the entrance to pit road. What was that, James? Don't beat yourself. Pit road penalty coming. No.
This is what I was looking forward to. All this pit
well,
road
well. David Washington at least had a little bit of time to make up for his 2 overshoots pit road on those first 2 pit stops, but now under a green flag that'll maximize the severity of the penalty. And I think the big question is,
wow,
what does that do to the points?
No penalty. They called it no penalty. Scott Eckrich got lucky there. Very lucky. Okay, but what this is going to do, I think that was a 2. We were so busy talking about the cone, I really didn't catch it, but it looked like 2 tires for the 7. Had to be 2 tires for the 70. That's the only way you can have a shot at this point. No tires. Wow. So you got no tires, 4 tires. Okay, so Cisco's talking in everybody's ear and getting us all confused now. So 4 tires for Eckrich. So he's on the original strategy that I thought he was playing. 4 tires, go for broke, and see if you can't make up all the time you lost. But you look at the time right now, he's 9 seconds behind Dwayne Vincent, who, if Chad Cole can't make it on fuel, would be the effective leader of this race.
Well, it's going to come down to whether or not Scott Eckrich can run down Dwayne Vincent at the end of this, don't you think?
Oh, car through the grass, start-finish line, no caution yet, but Steve Gottschalk. We were watching Scott Eckrich go around the 91 of Gottschalk, and the Nerfinator, as they call it, went for a ride from 14th position. We stay green as they run. That could have been disaster really quickly, Chris, and Scott got away with one right there.
Oh, yeah, he definitely did. You see the replay come up as he goes for a wild ride for the grass, as you mentioned. That could have been really bad for the 91 as well. Surprised he got it woed up. He was still scooting around going into turn 1, but he seems to be back underway. Near miss avoided there for Scott.
All right, so what we've got with 30 laps to go, you've got Scott Eckrich 9 seconds back of Dwayne Vincent, who would be the effective leader of this race right now in 3rd. You've got Chad Cole leading this race as we got one spinning again right to the inside of the 70 of Eckrich. How many bullets can you dodge if you're the 70 tonight, James? Are you kidding me?
Oy. Our poor buddy, Mr. Austin Cooper, of all people.
Of all people.
Yeah. We'll see if that golden horseshoe is hiding somewhere underneath the floorboard of that 70 machine. Because I have to believe if that happens twice and you miss it, there's a little bit of luck that goes in with that.
Perhaps. And now you've got Dwayne Vincent, who just did away with Sean Casto in the runner-up position. So Dwayne goes to 2nd, 8.5 seconds behind Chad Cole, who leads this race with 28 laps to go, but Vincent's coming. Eckrich is coming. It's going to be a barn burner to the finish. We're going to go our final break tonight. LSRTV nonstop takes you there. When we come back, we're taking you all the way to the finish. Cole, Vincent, Casto, Eberhard, Abbott. They're your top 5 from the Great American Speedway. You're watching iRacing Live and LSRTV. check that. We'll take the break in a moment. Chad Cole to pit road now. So we'll adjust our top 5 as follows. This goes to show Chad Cole could not go the distance, so Vincent assumes the lead. Casto, well, what would be Eberhardt, John Abbott, David Washington. So Vincent to the lead. Now we'll step away and come back to finish it from Texas Motor Speedway after this. You're watching iRacing Live and LSR TV, the voice of sim racing. We bring it back as cars head to pit road here on iRacing Live and LSR TV. Caution with 26 laps to go that came out when Austin Coop went for a ride. And now your race leader, Dwayne Vincent, on pit road as most of the leaders coming down for their final round of service. It's the inevitable question of what do you do now, James? 2 tires or 4? If I'm Dwayne Vincent, I want 4 tires and try to race it out here with 23 to go, and that's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, I think if you're anybody near the front, you take 4.
Daniel Eberhardt took 2, though. He gambled. Wow. Okay, we stand corrected. Eberhardt took 4 and had the best pit stop of the night, Chris Murdoch.
Yeah, definitely. Another person I want to take a look at here on pit road is that 98 of David Washington. After missing his pit box on 2 stops, he gets it where it matters. He didn't lose a single position. He's in that 4th position right behind Sean Casto. So the 98 of Washington gets it done right when it matters.
All right, Chris. So now with 23 to go, oh, what's the mindset at this point? Now it's crunch time.
We thought the beginning of this race was crazy. Just wait till these final few laps. It's about to, if there was a roof on this motor speedway, it would be off because it would have been blown off by now. It's about to go, and it's about to be crazy in these last few laps.
We're going to try to dial him up on the radio after a brilliant pit stop again. Daniel Eberhardt, LSRTV booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha.
Holy 13 seconds. You get out in front and finally get some clean air. How big was that pit stop in your quest to try to win this race?
It's going to be rough. Dwayne's got a good car. His Chevy's running really fast, and he's got a good head on his shoulders, so he's going to be tough to beat. And then you got David Washington back there. And we got a couple drivers that I feel like are a little bit better than me. Definitely on the short run because the car wants to push real bad. So we'll see what we got in this Ford Fusion.
It's all about giving yourself a chance, knowing that if you got a chance, maybe you can win your way in, right?
Yeah, that's all you need is a chance. And, in this chase format, you don't get any of them, much of them at all. So we'll see what we have.
We'll let you get to it, my friend, but definitely best of luck. And I'll say this, I know you would too. These last 22 about to get fun.
Hey, I just want to say one other thing. Maybe this jinx can go out the window with the LSRTV stuff tonight because every driver you'll ever talk to is something that goes wrong, so we'll see what we got.
You really had to go there, really? We'll let you get back to it, Dan. Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
And Jacob, I want to reference something right now. You know, we look to our sheets here and look at the points. Every driver except for one, and that would be that 45 of Carl Shedd back in 14. Every chase driver who's racing for a spot right now inside the top 10. So it's about to be explosive up here in the front as, you know, we drop to 1 degree. Lights on the pace car off, getting ready to take this green flag, perhaps for the final time.
Perhaps is the key word. It'll be 21 to green, James. The biggest thing that sticks out here for the first time tonight, Dwayne Vincent has to restart on the outside lane. And they just extended the caution, so we've actually got a minute to discuss this. Outside versus inside, that's going to be the key right now. I mean, for Dwayne, this is the first time he's had to not be on the preferred lane all night.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, but I think Chris kind of nailed it. I think it was the wonderful song wordsmith and lyricist Nelly said it's getting hot in her, and I do believe that something akin to that is probably about to be what goes down, because now we've got 20 laps to go. Now it's going to be go time when we get the green flag. Now I think you're going to see guys start getting up on the wheel, start trying to drive a little bit more aggressively, and that could lead to a few issues because, as our good friend DW says, Jacob, cautions breed cautions.
I knew somebody was going there if it wasn't me. I imagine Cisco's listening somewhere down in the production trailer. I'm going to make him hit a button. Let's see.
We got somebody, Cisco, in our ear. He's talking about the 70 of Scott Eckridge, who got a black flag for passing under the yellow. Yeah, but they threw the caution flag out to debate it, as you see up here. Scott Eckridge had the black flag thrown away. They're going to go green here going off into 3, but I was that's what that was going. We're going to go here to, you know, the green as the pace car is getting ready to pull off.
Yeah, this is about to get fun. It's a 20-lap shootout in, as they say, the Wild Wild West. Fasten your seatbelts. Green flag back in the air, and how about the jump? Dwayne Vincent can't get the go. Casto going for second, and Eberhardt's gone to turn 1.
That's the first time I think we've talked about Sean Casto that far up in the field, but that inside starting spot, but he got loose in the middle of the corner, and Dwayne Vincent's looking to make the move on the outside.
Oh, and watch Eckridge now. You got Washington, Eckridge. They're going side by side down into the corner as we roll into turn number 3. Vincent trying to hold the one of Casto down. Casto going to clear him off turn 4. Vincent coming for the crossover as we come back to the line.
Well, Eckridge got around Washington back there as Washington got loose in the middle of the corner, but guess what? The guy who loves to see all this right now, Daniel Eberhardt.
Oh, yeah.
Drive away as all these guys race each other.
He's 6 car lengths out in front, Chris, as we work off turn number 2. Problem now. Vincent's clear of the 1. You've got now the 70 of Eckridge is clear, and here comes Washington trying to make the move to the inside for 3rd. The vets are coming.
Yeah, Washington was not waiting around for Eckridge. He made that move. He forced that hole going into 3. He's not wasting any time. He wants to go and try to steal the win away from all these people. As, you know, like James said, Eberhardt's got to be loving this in his mirror, but he can't stay too comfortable for long because the 13's got away from the mess behind him, and he's catching him really fast.
Yeah, he has, and the problem right now is Washington and Eckridge are still going at it. They're still side by side and nearly made contact in turn number 3. Eckridge trying to make it happen, and all the while, James, caution, no. Dwayne was closing, but the yellow back out with 16 to go. That just ruins our fun, doesn't it?
Didn't I say something about cautions breeding cautions, perhaps?
Yeah, you did.
I don't try psychic all of the time, but sometimes I might know a few things.
Sometimes, most of the time. Jimmy North, the reason for this caution flag is he was 1 lap down in the 20th position when the caution flew here with actually what was 17 laps to go, and he had contact with the guy he was racing for the lucky dog, Bobby Wetzel, in 19th. So now 16 to go, and oh boy, do we have to do this all again now, James? Are you if you thought that was good, I don't know that we've seen anything yet.
I think my question is if you're maybe one of like Michael Waters or Ross Cato, Scott Simley, maybe even Chad Cole somewhere back on the
Do you
tail
take
end,
tires?
do you come in and get tires and maybe get that car to drive a little bit better off the corner in these final few
It's
laps?
not a winning move, but maybe for a spot in the top 10, perhaps?
If you're racing for points, maybe.
Sure, why not? Chris, Dwayne Vincent was coming right before that caution flag. And I'll be fair, I think that's the last thing he wanted to see, especially knowing now the 70 of Eckridge starting right kitty corner to him for this restart behind Eberhard in third. Oh, that's the last thing that 13 needed. Look at this! Vincent stays out and they're pitting for tires!
Eberhard down pit road and Eckridge down pit road. That's going to shake everything.
Oh, boy.
We're going to come to take 15 to go here, so maybe they're just playing the part of their strategy and saying, 15 laps, that's enough for us to get back up to the front. But, we said that's probably the last thing Vincent wants to see. This is probably up there on the things that Vincent likes to see, knowing that he's got a pretty good buffer back there to his competition, but he's got, Washington on his outside now.
In the category of things I didn't expect to see, I'll file that pit sequence, James. What? I think 6 cars in total stayed out, so that means fresh tires going to be on the inside of row number 4. I'm counting 6 or 7 back there. It's somewhere in row 4 you're going to have fresher tires. 2, 3, 4 laps maybe. It's a little bit, but it could mean a whole lot.
Yeah, Eberhard coming in from the lead.
I would never have. I would never. Wow.
Everybody should have heard the gasps in the booth from everybody when we saw the split between pit road and turn 4. But yeah, I think we have to watch everybody in 8th and 9th and 10th when we go back green and see what kind of progress they make, especially if we get another caution, because I think that's going to go a long way to determining, A, whether or not that was the correct strategy call, and B, whether or not anybody tries to replicate that if we get another yellow and another chance to come down pit road.
It's going to be all about how well it works, and I think Chris, the key here, speeding maybe on the 90. Eberhard just issued a penalty from race control, Chris.
Yeah, and I think, with this caution, we're going to talk to the crew chief of this 90 machine, the crew chief of Aegis, and see what that pit call was about. Andy, it's Chris Murdoch up here in the booth. You got me?
Yeah, I got you guys.
An interesting pit strategy here late in the race. What's your opinion on this call? What do you think you're going to get out of this?
Well, any other time during the race, 5 laps or so, I would have said pit. But this late in the race, you got to figure that some guys are going to be driving out of their heads trying to make up as many positions. So we just thought maybe another caution or so might fly. So we'd rather take the track position at this point. So that's kind of the way we went with it.
Yeah, maybe a good call. You got the 13 there starting on Washington's inside. Do you guys think you got something for him?
We're going to give it hell, I'll tell you that. He's been fast all night. We've been mirroring a lot of his lap times on the long run. So we'll see what we got on this short run, a couple laps on the tires. But we're going to give it all we can anyway.
Well, there you have it. We're going to let you get back to it. Good luck from us up here in the booth. Hope it all works out for you. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Thanks a lot.
Now, Chris, the other thing I want to throw at you before we go green, the penalty on the 90 of Eberhard was not related to pit road this time by. He slowed down before the green flag, which is a definitive in the rule book. You can't do that. You have to maintain pace car speed coming to the restart. Eberhard did not do that. As such, he will restart 18th, and that's really going to shake up the possibility. That leaves the 70 of Scott Eckridge, in my mind, guys, as the only car left that maybe has a realistic shot of beating Dwayne Vincent that has fresher tires. Dave Washington, we know what he can do on restarts. And Mike Kelly, he's gutsy. He wants it. Chad Cole, he definitely wants a win. It's been 2 years since he's done it. Pace car, going to head to pit road and leave him for a 12-lap dash to the checkered flag. No, they're going to delay the restart.
Yeah,
so that's another lap.
we talked to Andy Kessler there, that crew chief on top of that 98. He said he's going to give it all he's got. They're not going to hold back. And why would you? Why would you want anybody to easily make their way into the round of 4 going into Homestead? He wants to steal this win from everybody and make it known that they're going to have to work for this championship.
I've said it before, James. I'll say it again as we get set to go back green. David Washington's worst nightmare is Dwayne Vincent winning this race to go to the championship 4 because he's proven that he... And Eckridge gets a penalty, and he's going to park it. They're dropping like flies now. Oh, boy.
Yeah, trouble.
Definitely not what you want to see as a chaser.
No, that could be the end of Eckridge's championship if he doesn't win at Phoenix. That's huge.
But yeah, the lights are up atop the pace car, so it looks like we're going to go green this time.
Yeah, we will go green right here, and one bullet left in the gun now. It's Dwayne Vincent versus David Washington. Pace car to pit road, 11 laps to settle it. Green flag back in the air, and how about the jump, James, by the 13? Vincent nails it, and they fall in line behind him.
No shocker that he got a good start, and David Washington went to second, and then Sean Casto, and I think that's Mike Kelly and Chad Cole all running in a little trio there as they come out of turn 2.
Oh! Cole gets turned into the wall by Nick Silver. Big crash behind them.
Both Eberhard, Shed, chasers involved, chase-ending implications. Eberhard got a heck of a front-end hit. You got the 91 of Steve Gottschalk. I think Eckridge got a little bit of damage in that. A whole lot of people got hurt.
That's the entire field, save for the top 4. And maybe Christopher Hurlow, AJ... So that's maybe 6 cars that don't have damage right now, James. And that all started off the exit of turn 2. Nick Silver in the 24 had a heck of a run to the inside. Chad Cole tried to throw the block, and they just got hooked.
I want to say it was Chris at the top of the broadcast that talked about turn 2 being the trouble spot. Well, credit to Mr. Murdoch because he called it. Turn 2 ends up being the trouble spot.
And Scott Eckridge somehow made it through that mess. That was a piece of driving.
I think we need to see...
The track was blocked, basically.
Yeah. Two of our Aegis drivers, 2 of our chase drivers involved in that wreck. That could be the end. They got to put all of their hopes on Phoenix for this, but Washington's still up there. He's looking to go green one more time and get this in. They're pulling at straws here now, trying to get track position.
All right, so and we'll explain it for anybody new. Scott Eckridge went through a hole where he should have been tagged and collected in this, and as we call it on the iRacing service, netcode, basically you glitched through it. So I don't know where that golden horseshoe is tonight, James, for that 70. He shoulda, woulda, coulda been in about 5 different wrecks tonight, and somehow he lives to fight another day in the top 10. I don't know that he's going to have enough time left to get back to Vincent, but he saved his championship. Right? Actually, his championship got saved right there for him.
Yeah, funny little thing called luck. Sometimes bites you. Now, I think by my count, that's only the 3rd time. But
is that 3?
Well, yeah, 3. And Vincent's got like a piece of a horseshoe because he missed Austin Coop in that first yellow. But
yeah, he did.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'll be curious to see who's still left in this field besides Vincent and Washington. And I guess Casto and Kelly looks like he was the first to make it through right around that zone. Where
Kelly was lucky. He was all the way to the inside and basically drove by before it came back into him.
Right. So,
and that's big for Mike Kelly because he came in as the first driver outside looking in, and he was only 2 points back of the cut line. But when you consider that Nick Silver and Daniel Eberhard, a couple of those guys ahead of him in points, got collected in this, this is going to be a big deal. I know, I think Eberhard is still on track in 7th, but I think Chris, what's left of the 90 car, he did get a pretty sizable piece of that.
Yeah, I think, it's safe to say that, Mike Kelly will get those 2 points and move up on the points guys in the round of 4 on Nick Silver. But yeah, Mike Kelly hasn't been running outside the top 10 all day. He got really lucky there the last caution getting out of there. But luck's not going to win the race. He's starting in 4th right behind Washington, so he's got to hope that 98 can have something for Dwayne Vincent on these restarts. As we saw on that last restart, Dwayne Vincent rocketed away for the field before we got to turn 2. So hopefully those chase drivers need him to win, so hopefully he can have something for him up there.
I just swapped over to the radio on the 70, James, and his exact words, "I'm glad I hit the car that was up in the air." That's literally how he explained how he just got through that. He drove under all of it.
I think the other set of exact words that he said were the ones I liked more. Well, I was going to get through it one way or another. So
yeah, exactly. And because of that, he's still going to have a shot. He's going to restart 9th here. And there's only 12 cars left on the lead lap now. What was a 20-car lead lap train gets trimmed down tremendously. Again, in my mind, with only 6 laps to go, if you have another caution, it's got to be quick, because once we get to 4 laps to go, the race is over. If a caution flag comes out, no green-white checker here. So this could be the run to the finish. We'll reset it for you right now. Dwayne Vincent, David Washington, your front 2. Sean Casto and Mike Kelly on row number 2. A.J. Browning and Ross Cato on row 3. Daniel Eberhardt, Mike Waters, Scott Eckridge, and Scott Simley. That's your top 10 with 6 laps to go. If we get a caution in the first lap of the restart, we can try it again. Otherwise, this race ends under the yellow flag. Vincent, Washington, going to lead the field as the pace car heads for pit road. Vincent ready to go. Green flag in the air, and we're back underway as they cross the line. Vincent gets a good jump. 2 car lengths in hand, side by side for second in turn 1.
I was going to say the guy who did not get a great jump was David Washington. Sean Casto got immediately underneath that 98 on the restart, and coming out of turn 2, it's that one Bojangles machine that may well take the second spot as they go into turn 3.
He's trying to make it happen. Sean Casto, a tremendous run tonight as he goes to the inside. He moves Washington up the racetrack. They make contact, and Washington loses 4-5 spots as they work across the line. 5 laps to go. Dwayne Vincent driving off into the sunset. 5 car lengths in hand, and I promise you he wants to see a caution right now. That means he's going to victory lane, Chris.
Yeah, and we can't forget, you see the 12 of Ross Cato. He's sitting up in 4th. We haven't talked about him much. He's kind of just come out of the woodwork here. And then you got the 70 of Eckridge. He's made his way back up. Maybe going to get, probably not going to have enough time to get back up there to Dwayne Vincent, but a solid points day for the 70 and the 80 of Mike Kelly.
Yeah, Mike Kelly. Again, I said he was going to be the beneficiary tonight, and this is the kind of run that he needs. David Washington and Eckridge David Washington and going side by side with, I want to say, maybe the 12 of Cato. Yeah, Cato drops back a couple. Eckridge clear, Washington clear. So that's going to move Eckridge up to the 4th position. But the guy who's trying to run down Dwayne Vincent was a little quicker that time with 3 laps to go. James, Sean Casto giving it everything right now. This may be his best shot at a win all year, and he's trying to drive the champ down.
He's been pretty consistent all day. Started off around 5th and 6th and has steadily climbed his way up towards the top of the field as the race has progressed. And now he's going to come with 2 laps to go to see if he can get the 13 and spoil Dwayne Vincent's bid to lock himself into the championship at Homestead.
Oh, and look, though, Eckridge up to 3rd. He's half a second and change back, and Casto about a 10th quicker that time by. Eckridge is the blood in the water, though. He's trying to get to 2nd. He's got to get to Casto here in turn 3, Chris, or it may be over because they're coming back to the white flag.
Yeah, Eckridge made quick work at that 80 of Mike Kelly. I think the 80 kind of let the 70 go to just, he say, here faster, I'm not going to let you beat me up. Oh, he hits the grass. The one's blocking. He's hitting the, he clipped the infield a little bit. He's made the hole on the inside. He moved him up the track. The 70 clears the 1. He's going to be tracking down that 13. Both of these want to lock themselves into the chase.
Yeah, Scott Eckridge's charge is going to come 1 lap short, though, into turn number 3. Casto holds up the 70 just enough in a virtual must win. Dwayne Vincent's going to the championship 4 again. Off turn 4, Vincent wins at Texas. Eckridge comes up second by 3 car lengths. Sean Casto third. Mike Kelly and David Washington the top 5. James, he did exactly what he set out to do. 19th career win, and arguably the biggest of his Full Throttle Cup Series career tonight. That was a statement.
Because now he gets the shot to go after back-to-back titles.
Something that nobody in this series has ever done.
He's a special guy, that driver of the 13. I think that's all you need to say, and especially in a race where he said beforehand that he had to come out and win because he didn't like his chances as Phoenix, doesn't think he runs well there, said, I have to come here and win Texas. One thing to say it, another thing, Jacob, to actually do it. Yeah.
And he sweeps Texas in 2016. This is a moment right here for that Parker Store Chevrolet. Dwayne Vincent burns it down on the front straightaway. And when we come back to Texas Motor Speedway, we'll talk to the winner as well as the rest of our podium. A big night. Dwayne Vincent punches his ticket to the Championship 4 with a win at Texas, and you'll hear from him when we come back from the Great American Speedway. You're watching iRacing Live and LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
It was interesting this morning to come out here and get on the track and look closely at how rubber was starting to kind of take to the track, you know, where there were ruts and spots that looked still like dirt, and other spots were super shiny and had a bluish tint.
We scanned this track twice because we needed to be able to measure the differences between the track before it's raced and after it's raced. With dirt track racing, the dynamics of the track change dramatically once it's raced on throughout the race. And by scanning it beforehand, we were able to gain a baseline that we're now able to compare with the scan from after the race. Take a look at the cushion, see where it's built up, see how deep it is, and try to figure out some of these variables that we'll have to account for when we create our digital representations of dirt racing and dirt tracks. Our associate producer, Kevin Einarelli, was actually quite the soldier, and he stayed here all night scanning so that we could get this second scan, because in the morning after the race, they ripped the track up. So the window that we have to collect that data is very limited. So thanks, Kevin. So we had a similar approach with the photography of this track that we had with the laser scan. We photographed it twice. So we were able to get in here right before the race started, right after all the trucks had finished running the track in, and take reference photography of the track. And then we returned today and took another set of reference photography, and we took photos of all the various elements that we need to account for: the cushion, the groove, the areas of the groove that have received rubber, and the apron. And we have a specific technique that we use to take these shots. We are using something called photogrammetry. What photogrammetry is essentially the science or a method which will allow us to take photographs and extract three-dimensionality from them using common elements between the photographs. And it's a great technique to create textures for our racing sim, and it's something we've been doing for a while, but it's especially helpful with dirt because of the three-dimensional characteristics of the dirt and the way it collects. So it's a really good technique, and it should result in a great looking racetrack.
A lot of what I'm seeing kind of confirms what we already believed and already knew and have already started working on. So, you know, my plan is to get together with Dave Kamer and get in detail about what's going on between the tire and the road, because the ruts seem to be a significant piece of the puzzle, where the rubber shows up on top of the ruts. So getting the tire grip correct on a track that has as much variation as a dirt track does is going to be key.
We know that every racetrack, every dirt racetrack is unique, different soil compositions, different color, different types of grooves developed depending on the different types of cars. So this process that we've gone through this weekend is not going to be a one-off thing. We're going to do it again, increase our knowledge, and we'll take that knowledge home with us, and it will help us create a better version of these tracks in iRacing.
Welcome back to iRacing Live and LSRTV coverage of the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Gary Mercer Trucking and SimVibe by Sim Experience as we get ready to wrap things up here from the Texas Motor Speedway. Jacob Seelman, James Pike, Chris Murdoch here in the broadcast booth. Cisco Scaramuza down in the production trailer, and we're getting set to head to Gatorade Victory Lane in a moment to talk with the defending champion who punches his ticket to the Final Four. But first, a look at where your favorite driver finished here tonight in the Lone Star State. Vincent gets the win ahead of Scott Eckridge in second. Sean Casto completes the podium with his best run of the season in third. Mike Kelly fourth, and David Washington completes the top five. Ross Cato in sixth. Bobby Wetzel runs seventh. Scott Simley is eighth tonight. Daniel Eberhardt rallies after that crash for ninth, and A.J. Browning, James, completes the top 10.
In 11th, we got Michael Waters. Carl Shedd will be your last driver on the lead lap in that 45. Jimmy North will be 13th. Christopher Hurlow, 14th. 15th, Steve Gottschalk. Doug Roth, 16th. 17th, Scott Stenzel. Chad Cole, 18th. Nelson Riviera, 19th. And to round out your top 20 is John Abbott.
21st going to be Nick Silver ends up 21st after all that. Austin Coop is 22nd. Joey Jattina 23rd. All these cars out of the race. Sean Bounty 24th. Ben Burnett 25th. Douglas Wyatt 26th. And Joseph Tice, the last car on the lead lap in 27th. Before I head down to Victory Lane and have a little bit of fun, James, really quickly, how big a moment is this for the 13 of Dwayne Vincent?
Given the chance that you get to make a little bit of history if you're the 13, if you go down and win at Homestead. That's the big thing that jumps out to me. Back-to-back titles. As you said earlier, nobody in the history of the Full Throttle Cup Series has done that, Jacob. So you think of all the great guys that have come through here and run here on iRacing. Vincent gets the chance, at least, to put himself in a very, very special place if he can get the dub down in Miami.
And we've made our way down to Gatorade Victory Lane. The man of the hour and the guy who told me before we kicked things off tonight I had to win. Dwayne Vincent, welcome back to the Championship 4, my friend. How about that one in Texas?
Yeah, you know, it was a bit crazy at the end. We'll take them however we can get them, though. But I'm wore out, man. You know, really, Scott had the... I think Scott Eckridge had the car to beat. He was really good on long runs. So was Eberhardt. I really wish the caution wouldn't have came out at around lap 100, somewhere in there. And we were out in the lead. We had kind of sharp pitted on Eberhardt and Eckridge, and I think we could have won it that way if it had stayed green. But I am just flat out wore out, man.
I got to ask you, my friend, what's going through your mind when you see Dan and Scott, those guys peel off right there with about 15 to go and come and take tires? And, yeah, it puts you back in the lead, but I imagine at that point you're sitting here thinking, oh, are you kidding me?
Well, that one caution that came out got me the win because Scott would have ran me down and beat me. One more lap, he'd have ran me down. He was coming.
Now, you've done this now 19 times in this Full Throttle Cup Series. You're the only driver that's been with it since the series inception, been a part of just about every one of these championship fights. Is this one, though, one of the most special, knowing that it gives you a chance to do what not really many other drivers can say in this league and have a shot to defend your title in 2 weeks at Homestead, Miami?
Yeah, so for some reason now, it's not as much pressure to me. Just more relaxed going into this chase than I was last year. Last year, I was hard on myself, man. Going into Homestead, I was just a nervous wreck, and thank God it worked out. But for some reason, this one I'm just more relaxed about it for some reason. But yeah, it would be special to be able to repeat. That would be really special.
Now, what's the mindset for the next? Obviously, you can relax at Phoenix, but does this basically give you an extra week to just mentally prepare yourself and get your work in at Homestead to be ready to go guns blazing there in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I will spend a lot of time testing in Homestead, but unfortunately, I love Phoenix. We're gonna go to Phoenix and have some fun though, but we will be doing a lot of testing on different things for Homestead, so looking forward to it.
Dwayne, I know there's probably some shout-outs you want to give. Who do you want to thank, and who makes it happen on this 13 car?
Parker Store, that's what I do for a living, Parker Hydraulics. Want to give them a shout-out. John Abbott, good buddy of mine, everything they do. Chad Cole, Joey Catina's back. Jimmy North is kind of helping out again. All those guys do a lot to make all this happen. There's a lot that these guys do that people just don't see. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. All you guys at LSRTV. And mom and dad watching at home, man. That's about it.
Well, Dwayne, I know this one's going to soak in, and like you said, next week's all about having some fun before you get a chance to go for that second title. Congratulations. I'm excited for this one. I know you are too. We'll see you in a week at Phoenix.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
That's Dwayne Vincent from Gatorade Victory Lane. I'll throw it up pit road. Chris Murdoch, the guy who came so close tonight, and yet one spot was so far. Scott Eckridge, down with you.
Yeah, I've caught up with the 70, who had a great race today, finishing second. Scott Eckridge, finishing second, what was your plan going into this race?
Well, I wanted to run every lap and win it, so we got a lot of laps led, and we just didn't quite get there. I think we would have had another lap, we might have had something there, but it was definitely a very, very eventful race.
Yeah, and you mentioned an eventful race. With 15 laps to go, you and Eberhardt made a wild pit call to come down from the top 5 and get some tires. What was what happened to make you make that call?
The fall off is just insane here, especially at the first 10 laps of the run. You fall off a long ways real fast. So those 4 or 5 laps that we had on the tires were, if it would have stayed green, it would have been a big difference. I think it would have been me and him up there at the front fighting for it if all that stuff wouldn't have occurred.
Yeah, and we look forward to the next week to Phoenix. We got the points updated here just shortly after the race ended. You're sitting 4th right now, right there on that bubble, right on that cutoff line. Third. I corrected myself. I'm sorry. But going into Phoenix, you think that's a track you got something for everybody?
It's typically an okay track for me, so I can usually run in the top 3 or 4. So I'm hoping either we get some lucky, bad luck or whatever on the other guys, or you hate to wish for it, but at this point you got to go for it. So if we just run nice and steady, keep just try to get that top 3, I think we could probably get into that final round.
And we know you can't do it by yourself. Who makes it happen, and who makes that 70 machine go so fast?
I got to thank all the guys at Steel Horse Racing. They put in a lot of effort every week, and they've been really helping prepare for this chase. So always got to thank them. And a shout out to my spotter, who unfortunately wasn't here tonight, but he's been with us for a lot of the season, Brandon Wilkinson, helping me stay out of the wrecks.
And there you have it, your second place finish, coming up just a tad short here at Texas. We hope to see you back up here with us again at Phoenix, but I'm going to throw it over to Jacob Seelman, who has made his way down pit road. He's caught up with that third place driver in Sean Casto.
All right, so the guy who goes and tries to spoil the party there at the tail end, Sean Casto. The Bojangles Mobile found some steam tonight. Restart there up in the top 3 on the final restart, and you looked poised. There was a couple laps there on that last 6-lap dash where you were actually faster than Dwayne. I'm sitting here thinking, he's got a shot to steal this thing. Doesn't quite work out. You come home third. Man, first off, what a run. But what's the thought process starting with the championship heavy hitters right there with you on that last restart?
Apologize, I'm going to be a little bit loud here. I don't know. First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to Silver. Unfortunately, caught in that crash. Yeah, we were racing hard. Vincent was the furthest back in the chase, and to help Silver, I was trying to, well, if I could have made him not win, that would have been a better situation for him. But I was going for it.
I know you were going for it. Walk me through the race in general. It seemed like every time tonight you were in the middle of whatever it happened to be that we were talking about. Wherever the chaos or the mischief or the hard racing was, it seemed like all night long the one was in the middle of it. Pretty eventful for you. Just a wild race all around.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a magnet. Had a good run going early. I dropped back in the field a little bit, and on that long green, I pitted early. And was able to actually jump the field a bit. Was running third when that caution came out, third or fourth, somewhere around there. Maintain that for the most part. Yeah, just trying to stay as ahead of all the other chasers as possible.
Well, you made the chase this year. Eliminated in the first round, I know, but obviously still showing that speed was no fluke. Goal the final 2 weeks to try and crack the win column finally, especially after watching your teammate do it earlier this season at the Brickyard?
Yeah, we're always gunning for victory lane, but number one is to get that 24 car in the P1 champion slot, and then we'll focus on next year. I'd like to also say sorry for Washington had a little bit of contact on one of those restarts and incidental, but nonetheless, appreciate LSRTV as well.
Well, we appreciate it, Sean. Looking forward to seeing you next week at Phoenix. Congratulations on the run. Best finish of the season for you. We'll see you in a week.
10-4.
So that's going to wrap it from our podium, guys. And let's take a look at the points now. Adjusted with Dwayne Vincent's win. So this is the chase grid point. You've got David Washington, who won last week at Martinsville, and Dwayne Vincent, who know they're racing at Homestead, Miami for a championship. You've got Scott Eckridge, the top guy in on points right now. 6 points back of Eckridge, you've got Daniel Eberhardt. So Eckridge 7 points above the cut line, Eberhardt 6 points above the cut line. Or, sorry, Eberhardt 1 point above the cut line. I can do math. Then, below the cut line, Mike Kelly. It's as tight as it was coming in. 1 point difference for Mike Kelly between racing for a championship and not racing for a championship. Carl Shedd, 12 points back. Nick Silver, 16 back. Kyle Tarasco with not running tonight. Obviously, he's in a must-win, but I'd argue, except for that 80, James, anybody behind Mike Kelly is in a must-win situation at this point. It all comes down, really, to the 90, the 80, and if, by chance, like Casto said, Silver or Shedd jumps up and steals a victory, Phoenix is going to be chaotic. We know that.
When is Phoenix ever not chaotic?
This is true.
Especially with these guys. For whatever reason, I feel like with LSR, Phoenix race is more like a short track and less like the kind of mile whatever it is than it is in real life. So I think all we can do is just keep our eyes peeled and see what goes down and see whose tempers flare underneath all of that heat in the Valley of the Sun.
Chris Murdoch, I said before this chase started, I predicted my final four was going to be the 98, the 13, the 90, and the 70. With one race to go before the championship four, those four drivers are in the four transfer positions. Does it change? Yeah. Does somebody break in at Homestead or no?
Well, we mentioned Mike Kelly only 1 point back. We saw the 90 of Eberhardt get caught up in that big one we had with only about, 10 laps to go. So, I say if anybody was going to break in, my best bet would be that 80. He had a phenomenal showing today at Texas, and like I said during the break here, while we're waiting for our post-race interviews, tempers are gonna flare in the sun. I don't think anybody is out of it just yet. Anything can happen. Maybe even the 88 of Kyle Tarasca, who missed out on this week, maybe he shows back up, gets another win to propel him onto the championship. So it's not over yet. I'm already excited for next week before we even get done with this week, if that says anything about how important this race is.
Programming note, 1 week from tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, we do head to the virtual Valley of the Sun for the cutoff race in the round of 8 at Phoenix International Raceway. The Jewel in the Desert will decide the 4 drivers to race for the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series Championship and send 4 drivers packing tomorrow night right here on LSRTV at 9 p.m. Eastern. The NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series kickoff race airs live here on LSRTV, and we look forward to, again, bringing coverage of the entire Pro Series through 2016 and the start of 2017. So be back with us here tomorrow night, 9 p.m. for the Pro kickoff. Right now, though, as we get ready to conclude tonight's race, for LSRTV's Evan Pasoko, Andy Kessler, our producer down in the trailer, Cisco Scaramuza, and everyone else at LSRTV, and on behalf of my broadcast partners tonight, Chris Murdoch and James Pike, I'm Jacob Seelman, congratulating Dwayne Vincent and the Stroker Aces, who take home the win tonight in the Lone Star State. We'll see you 1 week from tonight in Phoenix. Until then, keep it off the wall, and we'll see you next time right here on the web. Till we meet again.
This copyrighted broadcast is presented under the authority of LSRTV LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations and may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form, nor the accounts and descriptions of this event disseminated in any way without the express written permission of Live Sim Racing TV. LSRTV would like to thank its loyal fans for their continued support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.